Richard Marles, welcome.
How are you, Sarah?
I'm good, thank you. Now, Peter Dutton called the Prime Minister weak and flailing and said he would have got a better deal. Is Peter Dutton more in tune with the Trump administration?
I doubt it. I mean, talk is cheap here, Sarah. I think the first point to look at is if you look at what the Trump administration has done, it's imposed tariffs on countries right around the world, and in terms of the band of tariffs that they've applied, Australia is at the lowest end of those. That said, this is still a decision that we're very disappointed about. It's not a decision of a friend, and it's not a decision which is obviously in the interest of Australia, but it's not a decision which is in the interests of the United States. Our two-way trade supports the American economy, it supports American jobs, and we'll continue to make that argument to the United States. I think what we've heard, though, from Peter Dutton is a lot of flailing around today, and a man who, when placed under pressure, panics. And we've seen that in the way in which he's sought to feed the defence relationship, for example, into all of this, which is not wise. And he needs to be really clear about exactly what it is that he would seek to withdraw from the United States in terms of our defence relationship.
So are you saying that defence should not play a role as leverage in these negotiations?
It should not, and we've been really clear about our response. I mean, this is not it's a disappointing decision, but it's not an unexpected decision. Obviously, Donald Trump was very clear in the lead up to the last presidential election about what he was going to do. And so today what we've announced, as the Prime Minister said, is $50 million to help affected companies find other markets. We are putting a resilience leg into the National Reconstruction Fund, a Buy Australia campaign, which will see Australian companies placed at the front of the queue in terms of government procurement. We're going to strengthen our anti-dumping regime, and we're going to establish a strategic reserve for our critical minerals. Now, all of that is about building our economic resilience, and it is an appropriate economic response to what has occurred here.
Now, is there a negotiation pathway, do you think, to get us to no tariffs?
Well, we'll continue to make the argument, and I mean, ultimately, you know, we all see what the Trump administration does in the fullness of time. I mean, I would note that when Donald Trump was previously the president, I should say, it was 9 months before Australia achieved an exemption in relation to aluminium and steel. So we'll keep making the case to the United States, because it is in the interests of the United States to have reciprocal tariffs, in the sense of zero tariffs, because that's what we've had under the Australia-US Free Trade Agreement.
Well, let me ask you then.
But we're not going to be totally reliant on that either. We'll build our economic resilience no matter what the outcome of that is.
Let me ask you how those negotiations will take place. Does it have to be leader to leader, and does that begin now or after the election?
Well, it will be leader to leader, and it will be at every level of government, which is the way sensible, serious governments go about their business. But it will obviously.
Does that mean that the Prime Minister will be able to get a phone call with Donald Trump now?
Look, I have no doubt that those leadership conversations will occur. There have been, as you know, 2 conversations between the President and the Prime Minister. The President has talked about the Prime Minister coming to the United States, and an offer has been made for the President of the United States to come to Australia. And there are a series of moments in any year where Prime Minister and President will meet with each other. So I've got no doubt that that discourse will happen between Anthony Albanese and Donald Trump. And there are other countries around the world who are obviously trying to pursue their agenda as well. This is a decision that America has made across the board, and in respect of that, Australia is at the lowest end of the tariffs that America has set.
Let me ask you.
But we will continue to make the case.
Let me ask you about a couple of the details. So Donald Trump called out Australia for banning US beef. I understand there's a review underway of US beef imports. Can you hurry that up?
Well, I mean, again, the review that whatever the United States does is a matter for them. But I mean, firstly, what we're not going to do is compromise our biosecurity, or for that matter, the PBS in a different context, but in respect of beef, we're not going to compromise our biosecurity. Our understanding is that what the Trump administration are talking about is a 10% tariff on Australian beef exports to the US, but we'll continue to make the case about why those exports to the United States should be tariff-free.
Let me ask you about pharmaceuticals, because it appears that there is a delay in the decision on pharmaceuticals. Do we expect that tariff to come?
Well, again, this is an evolving situation. Perhaps the way to answer that is we are ready for whatever comes in terms of building Australian resilience here. But one thing that we will not do is alter the pharmaceutical benefits scheme. I mean, it is a very much underpins our public health in this country. It's a fundamentally important measure in terms of allowing Australians access to cheap medicines, and that's a really important part of our health care. It was an exemption in the original US-Australia Free Trade Agreement, and that is not on the table. But again, when Peter Dutton is out there talking about the fact that he thinks he can do better, the question then has to be asked about what it is that he would put on the table, what compromises he would make in his mind, to advance this.
Let me understand exactly your position on the use of leverage in negotiations as it relates to defence, as the Defence Minister. I understand you're saying that the big elements of the relationship should not be part of that leverage, but what about the issue of overall defence spending? Would raising the level of defence spending be something you could offer the US administration as part of this discussion?
Look, it is a completely separate issue, and it's not. I mean, our defence spending is a function of strategic threat. That's what happens. That's what happens and should happen in a rational world, and we are rational people. And can I say we were making increases in our defence spending quite independent of our dialogue with the United States. I understand why the United States would be seeking increases in defence spending from its allies and partners around the world, and you and I have talked about this before. But we also understand the strategic landscape in which we exist and the need for Australia to increase its defence spending. And again, this comes back to the fundamental proposition here. What we're going to do in this moment is very calmly and very thoughtfully act in Australia's national interest. We're not going to go off on and start talking wildly in the way that Peter Dutton has during the course of today. We're not going to engage in the kind of panic that Peter Dutton has engaged in today, and we're not going to engage in reckless and dangerous thought bubbles such as what Peter Dutton has done today. What we will do is engage Australia's national interest and use that as our guide in all the decisions that we take.
Richard Marles, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah.